Hey everybody, Brendan Hall here. I'm joined with the esteemed Lucas Shapiro. Just finished his second season as video coordinator at DePaul University, competing in the heavyweight Big East Conference. Uh, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here today, Luke. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, B Hall, man, it's awesome to be on. Just really excited to be here today to talk to you. And, I know there's a lot of important topics going on in the world to talk about, just ready to go, man.
Reunited, and it feels so good, Luke. It really
Oh, it
does.
does. No, there's no question.
I want to ask you, all the way there in the Windy City, how is it going right now? What are you guys doing with so much kind of up in the air? How are you setting the table for your players over the next few months?
Right. No, so you know, obviously what's going on right now is not an ideal situation, but for us, this time of the year, we're on spring break actually right now. So our guys are, getting a lot of much needed rest, which is great, because we've got a lot of guys that played a lot of minutes this year, and you know, this time of the year, I don't know that these guys have really in a really long time had this kind of free time. So it's trying to turn a negative into a positive. That's I think it's actually good. Now just figuring out how we go forward from there. There's a lot of things we're still trying to figure out. Whether we're going to be able to work out this spring, we're still not really sure. One thing we do know for sure is our guys are going to be in online classes. So we're just trying to figure out how to manage that in a good manner. So I think that uh, right now we're just trying to look at it as if this is how it would normally go. We're getting rest, and then we'll kind of see from here. We're not really sure, but it could be the case where our guys aren't here, and we're kind of trying to have them work out remotely.
Now, how does that work with fitness as well? I feel like for a lot of people in a lot of parts of the country right now, that's kind of a unique obstacle they got to work around.
Right, no doubt, no doubt. And I know that our strength coach Jimmy Duba, like he's been texting our guys workouts that they can do in their homes. There's still a lot that you can do in terms of body weight. There's almost a calisthenic that you could do for every part of your body. So that's something that he's had our guys doing from a fitness standpoint. Obviously, uh, it's important to keep that right now because it's really easy to get lazy. Just when you have ample amount of free time, and these guys are used to every day being so structured, like you know by the minute almost. So I think it's definitely there's gonna be a learning curve for a lot of our guys, and there's quite honestly there's gonna be a learning curve for us too.
Now, this time of year is typically when things start ramping up for a lot of high school players for recruitment. As they're transitioning to AAU or club, right? John Roth used to like to talk about we sleep in May, and really for college coaching staff, you sleep in August, essentially, right?
Yeah,
So
sometimes.
yeah, but this is an unprecedented time, I think, for many college coaching staffs. I'm sure this affects you guys a little bit. I'm curious to hear about your evaluation methods for some kids who don't have a full sampling of film to present to coaches in a critical year for their recruitment. I'm sure they'd be curious to find ways about some other ways they can demonstrate to coaches that they're worth taking a shot on. I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on that.
Right. So this time of the year, spring recruiting period is always a little crazy because a lot of guys hitting the transfer portal. Some coaches maybe weren't expecting some guys. Maybe they were. So people are kind of scrambling a little bit, and that includes coaches and high school players. So I think that obviously it's important to, if you can, try to get coaches full game footage. I think that's most coaches, if they're really doing their due diligence, will want full game footage, which is important. But on the other hand, like I think that, just like say if it was a job, like, as a player, you want to find a way to differentiate yourself, right? So I'm thinking like, you know, college coaches get thousands of emails, oh, check out this highlight, check out that highlight. So what is it that you can do to separate yourself? And, and all the time that I've worked in college basketball, I think about freshmen, right? And I'm thinking, what is it that separates freshmen from the ones that play from the ones that don't, right? And me personally, I've always kind of been raised this way in basketball. I'm thinking about defense, and that's something that people don't talk about a lot. It's not something that's glorified. There's no stats like, oh, I stopped this guy X amount of times. That doesn't show up in the box score. That's not glorified. And it sounds kind of funny, but seriously, I don't know that there's a lot of coaches that love playing freshmen, right? So they want guys that can contribute. And I think the easiest way for a freshman to contribute is by showing their abilities on defense.
Well, let's see some of these traits that you're talking about.
Yeah. So, I've got a few clips of kind of our team, and maybe some of the clips that you'd wanna like be able to show a coach, right? So, we had a freshman this year. His name's. Can you see that, Brendan? You see that's showing up, all right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay. Cool. We had a few freshmen that played for us this year that had some pretty good defensive ability. One in particular by the name of Romeo Weems. He actually started every game for us and was guarding the other team's best player.
And a highly touted high school recruit too, by the way.
Right. Yes. But I think really what makes him special is, he wants to be that guy that defends the other team's best player. So, if we just looked at this clip, right? So I'm talking about 5 categories here, and I think that there's kind of something to kind of get you thinking about defense. Obviously, the first and foremost most important thing is your ability to guard the ball, right? So your ability to eliminate blow-by. So that these are things that college teams track, right? College teams have their own statistics that they keep in-house usually. It's not going to be something you see in the newspaper. It's not going to be something you see on Twitter. You're not going to see, oh, this guy gets blown by 66% of the time. That's unfortunately, it's my biggest problem with basketball right now is there's no real defensive stats. They keep track of blocks, they keep track of steals, and those are cool looking stats to me. But the real defensive stats, these are the ones I care about. Personally.
They're like sacks in football, right?
Exactly.
Sometimes they can be empty calories.
No doubt. So here's a clip, just of Romeo Weems. He's right here guarding Miles Powell. I don't know if you can see Can you see my mouse?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So you see guarding the best player, obviously locked in on him right now, and your ability to guard another team's best player, I think, is important. So if you can find clips, for example, if there's a game where you shut somebody down, right? And if you want to get maybe kind of fancy with it, try to see if you can clip these clips and show a coach like, okay, hey, like here's me guarding a guy that's committed to another school or maybe all conference, or and showing that you can hang with him. So like your ability to guard the ball, here's another clip, and be able to execute like kind of complex defensive schemes. Those are things you're going to have to be ready for. So right here in this clip, this time we had our other lockdown defender, Darius Hall. He's guarding Miles, but he's got to fight through a stagger screen right here. Okay. In this game, we wanted to take away Miles' threes. So we were going to have him trail and, have the guy guarding last screen show a little bit and allow Darius to get back in time. In this situation, because they had good chemistry on the court, there was good communication. It was clear that they had good enough communication to emergency switch. So I'm going to play this. Now that that, that's not something that's really always going to get pointed out and celebrated. But a coach is definitely going to love to see something like that. So obviously, Romeo, using his gifts, he's got great instincts, great hands, great length, pokes it out from Miles Powell, national player of the year candidate as a freshman. Okay, here's another play right here. We got two freshmen on the court, Romeo Weems and Marquise Jacobs. This is a play where they switch on the ball screen, which is good. We switch 1 through 3 on ball screens, and you notice, Marquise really pushes him out, and this is a pretty advanced play for a freshman, to be honest, to be able to, put such great ball pressure on the ball. I think that and if you keep watching this clip, you can see the energy that he's playing with. He's really like, he stays locked in. He stays locked in. He sees both ball. He sees man. He stays locked in. Watch when he gets back. He's right there, pretending like he was going to jump in the air but didn't do anything, and that really had the guy he was guarding thrown off. So, for freshmen to really be able to come in the game and then he goes and turns the ball over right after that. For freshmen to show that you can guard the ball, I think first and foremost is the most important thing. The next category I think is something we emphasize a lot is having active hands. Coach Leto, he talks about it all the time, how like high hands on every closeout, high hands. So I think this clip is kind of a team clip, but like if you watch also another one, I'll get to this later, but ball screen defense is important. That's something, we like to chart successful ball screen defense. This would be an example, Devin Gage gets over the screen. Paul Reed, we're a hedge team. We hedge with our 5s and 4s this year. So, this time Paul Reed was on the hedge. Devin Gage got over. But the most important thing I think in this clip, another great ball screen coverage from Jalen Butts and Jalen Coleman-Lands. But the thing I liked about this clip is watch here the activity with the hands, right? Devin Gage gets a quick hand up on the closeout. Yep, quick hand up by Darius Hall. Can't feed the post right here. Nope, no way. Okay, Jalen Coleman-Lands, high hands. Devin Gage, high hands, turnover. Active hands. That's something else you could put together in your defensive highlight reel. If you're really trying to show that you're a player that executes the defensive game plan. These are things, think back to, maybe your high school season. What is it that your coach wants you guys to do on defense? And, coaches really, coaches want their jobs to be easy, right? So they want guys that can somehow showcase that they're coachable. And that's an example of a clip that, shows that you're coachable, that shows that you're executing the defensive game plan. All right. So next one right here is one of my favorite clips. We're getting into rebounding now. So box outs. This is, again, something that, we count how many times a guy boxes out. And I like this clip in particular because we got Jalen Butts right here going up against Tyreek Jones, who was the conference leading rebounder. I mean, this guy, Tyreek Jones at Xavier, when we were going into our last game in the Big East tournament, I think there was a stat where like the last 3 games he was averaging 6 offensive rebounds a game, which is like an absurd stat. So, can you be a guy that makes as a difference maker on the glass, right? And whether that's offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, but this is just an example of a guy that really, really just wants to control the boards. Like, look at him. He's like almost getting crushed. Like he's like sitting on his back. I laugh every time I see this clip, but that's a big time box out. And I mean, these are things that, I wonder, if I had the audio in this clip, I wonder, is the commentator talking about that? Is that something that people see in real time? I don't know that it is, but I can tell you one thing. if I saw that, if I saw a high school kid that was battling like that, I mean, ooh, that would catch my eye. So, being able to box out is a skill. And you know what? Jalen Butts, he actually, he doesn't get, maybe gets like 5 rebounds a game, but I'll tell you where he makes an impact, and that right there is a rebound assist. That's a rebound assist because he's making it so that his teammates can rebound. So, there's you can get really into these advanced stats. There's statistics that show what a guy's impact is, rebound, how the overall team impact rebounding is when he's on the floor versus when he's off the floor. I'm sure if we were able to see those stats, like Jalen Butts would be a guy that would make a big difference on that end. This clip right here, I want to talk a little bit now, thinking about help defense and continue to talk about executing the game plan. Right here, I talk about Paul Reed being in help defense. This game, we were going up against Iowa. The game plan was to double the post because they had Luka Garza, another National Player of the Year candidate, that we went up against. This clip isn't like perfect execution because Paul, he's focused on the closeout. He's kind of messing around a little bit, making sure his man doesn't cut to the hoop. But then once he realizes that his teammates got his back right here, he goes and he doubles the ball, and just showing that you have your teammates back. So say, for example, you got a clip where your teammate gets blown by and you're there ready to take the charge. That's another thing that's attractive to coaches. They want people that are ready to do this kind of stuff. And it's what separates the guys that, I'm telling you, it's what separates the guys that play versus the guys that, might start playing junior year. It's just real. You can't, a lot of coaches out there aren't willing to put a guy out there that's a defensive liability. And so Paul Reed double teams, has his teammates back, they turn the ball over. Last one, talk about ball screen defense. There's a lot of different ball screen defenses. Obviously, we were a hedge team. I think that having the ability to show that you're, for both guards and big men is important for ball screen defense, whether it's switching, whether it's hedging, whether it's icing, whatever it is. Showing that you have the ability to do multiple ball screen coverages, would be cool. If your team in high school only does one, but you feel that you get over screens well or hedge really well or whatever it is you do, I think that's another way to really separate yourself. I really like this clip because I think it shows, I've never seen a guy like do what Paul Reed does right here, and he hedges a guy so far that he goes out to half court. But these are the type of clips that see Paul Reed. Charlie gets over, and he's not really supposed to do this, but we kind of let him have a feel here, and he hedges the guy all the way to a backcourt, which is pretty impressive. Not too many big men can move like that. So showing that you have the ability to guard a ball screen, I think would be another thing that would be great to see. Say, for example, I'm in my inbox on a Monday morning, I see 6'3", blah blah blah, highlights, blah blah blah, okay, whatever. What if I saw a subject line that said best defender you've ever seen? Now that's, how can you brand yourself? How can you be different? That's something I've never seen. I've never seen a high school recruit say like best defender you've ever seen. It sounds kind of crazy, but
certainly has swagger to it.
Yeah. Show what makes you different, and show how you think you could bring value. Because realistically, how many freshmen can you name that are the team's leading scorer in college basketball? There's not many. Now, if that's what you do, yeah, I would show that. But coaches want to play people that can play defense, and if that's something that you're able to show somehow on film, I think that would be a cool reel to show.
This is pretty revealing stuff. I'm curious how you chart this all.
Right.
Show us.
Yeah. So, one of the things that you can do, and I actually don't have it with me right now, but it can be a two-person job, and you can go through an entire game, and it can be ideally, I'd say it's probably a two-person job, right? Where you're calling out, okay, say here, Charlie missed box out, Paul Reed made ball screen execution. And what you can do is you can type these up into an Excel document, and together as you're watching the game, having the ability to fast forward through offense. To be honest, when I've done it, it probably takes about an hour, maybe hour and a half sometimes if you're really trying to watch the whole game in its entirety. But to me, if you have the people that can do it, I think it's a no-brainer, because it also allows your team to be able to understand, okay, maybe, here are our rules. Those are five of I'd say probably our rules that I just showed. And you're executing them 80% of the time, which, 80% I'd say is pretty good. Obviously, not every possession is perfect. You're not going to rarely ever be at a game where, you're guarding the ball, you never get blown by, or you forget high hands one time, or, that happens. But, we want to play the guys that are doing that stuff way more than they're not doing it. So one of the things that you can do if you're keeping it game by game and throughout the season is you can put it up in the locker room. So, guys will see, oh shoot, I only had high hands 50% of the time. Oh wow. And that's where you kind of establish a culture that, they're focusing on a different box score. And that's something that I think is important, because a lot of the things that get celebrated, it's the 20 points, it's the maybe 10 assists or offensive stats. There's no defensive stats, man. There's like, so like if you can get your team thinking and establishing that defensive mindset through celebrating those kind of statistics, I think that's something that every coach would want, to be honest.
So let me ask you this. Look, if I'm sitting in my basement right now, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the next month. What's the most important thing someone can take care of?
Are you talking about in terms of players, or are you talking about
Players?
In terms of coaches? Players, for sure. I mean, I think the one thing I've thought this whole time when I'm home, traditionally, myself as a player, I still play.
I'm sure you rip it up in the streets of Chicago.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. One thing I've been thinking about is like, I can come out of this with a way better handle. I could, maybe I could improve my ball handling skills, because I've always been a guy that, people will start yelling at me if I start putting the ball down 2 or 3 dribbles. Hey man, you're a shooter. You're a shooter, all right? Don't get out of your don't get out of your role here. So I think, yeah, ball handling is something you can do anywhere, right? You don't have to have some big area space. You don't have to, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a court. It can be a concrete floor, or, if you're living at home with your parents, hopefully they're cool with maybe just I don't know, somewhere in the house, or if you got like a little area outside that you can go. I've heard a lot of great ball handlers even do ball handling drills on the grass, because it's
Really?
just harder. Yeah, I've heard people do that before. Just trying to figure out a way that you can become a better ball handler out of this, I think is, just another way to turn a negative to a positive.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Well, we're all going to get lots of practice. Like I feel like next few weeks. So that's good to know.
Yeah, a lot of people been seeing people doing the push-up challenge on Instagram. maybe we should get like a ball handling one started or something like that,
Hey, let's start it. I'll join and try and probably fail.
Oh, I would love to see that.
I'm a 4 trapped in a 5'10" body. So, Luke, this has been a wonderful, wonderful chat. Really appreciate you joining us for a few minutes here. I hope you stay safe out there in the Windy City. For now, for Luke Shapiro, this is Brendan Hall signing off for Hudl. See you soon.
Thank you, Brendan.